Hi, everyone. Welcome to Digital Experience team. This is our iteration retro video. We'll go over what went well and what we can improve on from our last big project, which was released last week, 2 weeks, April 27th. So this is kind of going to be a longer retro. So we'll begin with the things that went well. And I think Barker has the first point.
We launched a new freaking site. Wow. Like, come on. It was huge. And it went off without a hitch. Like, we launched it. Everything worked. There's only a couple like small bugs. It was awesome. It's a tremendous achievement for the entire team. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just had a point there too. Like, it's insane that this is what I expect from the team. Like, when Kimberly Bolton asked, can you give me some insight on what your contingency plan is? I was like, oh, maybe I should have thought of that, but I don't have one because I don't think we need it. Like, I just 100% had no doubt that this was going to go how it went. And that sense is crazy impressive. So it's the best feeling. So thank you. Oh, I had the next one. I saw so much kindness. I saw so much people giving the benefit of the doubt in the way of, like, when things weren't where they needed to be, it was a collaborative opportunity to get them where they need to be. I saw it in every single corner of this project. Really, it was just the kindness that blew me away. Like, it was a positive approach. There's two ways this could have gone, like frustrated that you didn't get what you needed, or that things were delayed, or something might not have been understood the way that you meant it to be understood, or it was, okay, I see what we have. I know we need to get a little further. Let's do this together. So I was just, again, so amazed. And I think the opportunity for us is to just keep driving this. Like, it's the cross-functional collaboration is a muscle. It was a muscle that had atrophied at GitLab or just hadn't really been flexed. And like, I've just been using sort of like my hands to kind of like, 2 years ago when I joined, it was like this, like people were doing lots of cool stuff, but apart. We've really forced it to here, and we have the opportunity now to go this way or go stronger. And I would love to see us get stronger. My third point I added, I thought what went really well was being open to Jam3 joining our process. I also really appreciate how far they came to our process, specifically like getting direct and honest feedback from Adam, Monica, Luke, the whole brand team, as well as the product design team. Like, it was always super clear, wildly consistent. Adam would send his notes to me, Jess would send our notes, and I'd look at them and be like, oh, these are the same notes. Like, that was really easy. And it wasn't ever, I was never worried that we weren't saying what we meant. I've seen that before where everybody's being a little nice, and it's like, but this is hurting progress. So I thought that went amazing. Nathan, you've got point 4.
Yeah, I never thought I'd say this because I don't like a lot of process, but I really like the daily stand-ups. I feel like they kept me accountable, and like I'd look at what I said I was going to work on that day, and then did I complete it, and then what carries over. Anyway, and it was nice seeing what everyone else was up to as well. And I think there's a lot of collaboration on other people's posts about what was going on. So yeah, I think I'm in favor of them. I don't know if this is something we want to roll out, but Tyler, do you want
to? Did you like? Sorry,
also, sorry.
Did you like it through the way it was done through that Geekbot? Is that specifically what you mean? Okay, exactly. I'm going to put that into action items.
I love Geek, but I like stand-ups. I mean, I do stand-ups myself, right? Like, I have like I keep like my notebook, and I do like, here's what I did yesterday, here's what I'm doing today, and then like when I come back to it just stays here, and I like log on, I just like see I have like a running narrative, right, which is really helpful for me personally about my own work. But I think that the daily stand-ups for a team, like, one, you communicate out your narrative of like, here's what I've been working on, where I'm going, and like what might be challenging or like where I might get blocked. And then 2, you get visibility into other people's narratives. And I think that's really helpful. And I think that fostered a lot of the collaboration because we could like flag and adjust and like, and like, I don't think we should do daily stand-ups on Zooms. That seems silly and superfluous and hard to collaborate or hard to coordinate. But Geekbot is perfect because like hop on, it's on Slack, and like it asks you the question. You don't even need to remember the things to ask, and it reminds you what you said yesterday. So I usually just sort of like go from there, and it takes like 5 minutes. So I think like, you know, strong yes. I would love, Michael, if we like, you know, we do the weeklies, and like I'm glad we, or even like every other week. I think it's like right now we have stuff like on the Friday in the middle of an iteration, and like I think that is like, it's just not enough for me, right? I even forget that we do. When it comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it's that day, huh? Like, I think that like the value of this goes up tremendously at the daily level.
That's really great feedback, because I had that in my mind too. It's like every other Friday, like, does this feel like more work to remember? Whereas
Yeah.
it's one of these illogical things where it's like, well, yeah, actually doing it every day is less work, even
Makes it
though you're
easier.
doing it every day.
Yeah.
And maybe we take a Friday off. Maybe it's like every day but Friday, just because that's why not? But
you can also
yeah.
tell the bot like I'm out, or like, or use previous day's response is one of the default drop-down options. So if you're like stuck in a holding pattern, you like don't even need to type it out again.
Sweet. Okay, great feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to add on to that. We did daily stand-ups at my previous position. And I know for a while there was like almost a bit of stress and that you always felt like you needed to have something. But as soon as you realize that it's okay to say like I had a quiet day or I wasn't able to do everything, it makes daily stand-ups not as stressful. And I don't know, just no obligations, I guess, to complete like a laundry list of things every day.
100%. Quantity over quality.
Yeah. Tyler, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah, just I like shout outs to everyone who like joined the team. Like I don't even know who all joined the team and when, because we were so busy in the middle of stuff that like it just didn't like surface the way that normally new additions do. And I think that like I imagine that it's a unique challenge to like join the team with a lot of like onboarding process in and of itself, to do it remotely and to have like everyone who's already here being like, oh hey, like I'm super busy right now, like I got, you know. So like I know a lot of people who joined in, like I saw also doing like really critical stuff. And I've actually forgotten, I'm so sorry I forgot who did this, but someone like added like fixed the search bar in middleman. Whoever you are, like raise your hand, because it was really good, because I like got a merge conflict on that file. I was like, oh, who fixed this? I was like, oh great, like someone who's like kind of new. So great, thank you for doing that. But 2, like multiple things like that where I was just like, oh yeah, there's people here and they're really contributing. And then, you know, of course I think like Miracle, I think you joined at like the day before the launch. But I think it's also great that you like we're super self-sufficient. Like I don't think like I think you being able to like get started on your own while we were all like, hey, like we're doing something else for a couple days, can you give us a minute? I think that's huge too. So just shouts to everyone. And yeah, Mike, I see your note about coffee chats. I agree. Like I also feel like this could be in the like things to improve on thing, but like I also wish that I knew, like I had taken the time to like say hello to new folks like more personally than just now. So, you know, like please like drop stuff on my calendar.
Awesome, thank you.
I think I have the next one. Yeah, release went great, but so did after the release. You know, we kept the momentum going up, and we had a couple of different epics, and I think Barker led the charge on that and made sure that those were getting actioned. So I'm really pleased with that, and keeping, like, we didn't just stop working, even though we had the day off on the Friday, but after that we didn't just stop working. So thanks to Barker and the whole team for, you know, keeping the pace going. I see Tyler typing as
yeah, you put yours in, and I just like Michael and I talked about this like last week or something about how awesome having that new layer of management has been, and like again, same thing of like, wow, amazing job doing it during a very like busy project. But I noticed the same thing where like I think something we have struggled with for the last year of my recollection is like a little bit of like delegation and coordination and like things coming up and then sort of like going out into the ether and like either people like superheroing them or it's sort of like getting lost in the shuffle. And like with all of the feedback and like, you know, things that needed to get fixed up and stuff, I didn't see that happen the way that it could have happened without the folks like either like Barker getting like into the new management role or like Justin and Phil's like coming in. Like I felt like it just felt like there was so much more structure there to like help the ICs do what they needed to do and like know where the priorities were. And it like takes a whole set of considerations off of IC brains, right? Where we're like not trying to figure out, like we're not trying to suss out priorities like every single day. Like, of course we think about it, but now maybe more on that daily, we can say like, hey, like someone else knows the priorities. Let me go ask them for a shortcut real fast. So thank you to everyone joining that line of management.
+1. I added one more thing. Just yesterday, we had our first community contribution. Like someone on Twitter added a small line of code to make the little scrolly thing on the homepage animate a little bit. And I was just like, I'm so excited about that because it's little, but like it starts things. Like when we're seeing these kind of things, if I have, I don't know, in this parallel world where I would actually like be a hard ass about deadlines, if I said this needs to be done in 1 hour and then you said this dude gave us this code, I'm not going to do that in 1 hour, I'd be like, great, priority. Like I would love to have more and more and more community contributions because I just think it's so core to who we are as GitLab. And I've wanted this for 2 years. And because of the amazing work we did, it drew that attention. It's that pull of our core user. We're excited to like write a tiny little bit of code. Like it's not just the fact that it was one CSS transition. It's that they looked at it and then they had a thought, like they were inspired. They went, oh, this is cool. You know, it would make it cooler. That's amazing. So I think that's like the cool, it made my week.
I think we can jump into things to improve on. I think Barker's got the first point.
Yeah, on Thursday, like at 3 after that crazy launch, popped into Slack, was like, oh my God, the web ID button, like, let's fix that. And then I woke up Friday morning and was just like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was bad because I tagged Laura Mateo and it was after hours for you. It was Thursday evening, you were out and done and we had Friday off. I'm so sorry. I felt really bad about that. I shouldn't have done that. I think having a process for giving guidance on when there is an issue that does require after hours work would be awesome for as like management to like check yourself, like, okay, is this critical enough to like start tagging people? And then also who you can call on during those off hours. And what is, you know, so you're not just picking people by random, I guess. That's all.
Yeah, I was just gonna echo that, but I think specifically there was a Fastly blip that happened, I think a couple days after or a week after release. I know Tyler jumped on it, but again, it was like after hours. And then it made me realize, same as Lauren, like, do we have a process for this? Like if the site goes down, God forbid, like at night, what's happening? Is it the first person that jumps on Slack finds it's responsible? Like, yeah, I'm not sure. Tyler, I know you want to read or continue on.
We don't have a process. Right, like I think it's clear to me that there is, or my understanding is there's no process, right? Maybe there is one, but if there is, we don't use it or it's not a clear process. There are like support processes in the broader organization, and like often like though like impact like Fastly Fastly wouldn't really be us anyways, because like we're not the only people at the company that like use Fastly, and there's like an infra team that's like on that. So if Fastly goes down, like the infra team knows about it because like GitLab product stuff gets served from there, right? But like we don't have a process for stuff that is us. It sort of just gets caught and like ad hoc routed. I see that Michael's not Michael has a note of here that like he doesn't want to go on call. But like so like I basically my comment was going to be like, I don't know if we need on call. It does seem like maybe we've hit a level of maturity where the expectation is that like there is someone who has like domain expertise about the marketing site and like is available anytime like other people at the company need them to be available for. And like I would raise my hand to be part of an experiment of that, because I think that like on-call rotational hours actually match my sleep schedule really well. So like that's cool. But I don't feel strongly about it other than like if we do nothing about this, I think the answer will continue to be that we only have an ad hoc process. And I think we just need to like understand like how important it is to have better than an ad hoc process. It may not be important at all. And I feel like Michael is probably saying like in his next comment that is not that important.
No, I agree. It's important. I guess like where my head goes is anybody gonna die? No. Probably better to sleep then. I would rather see some kind of like alerting system so that we're aware. So it's not a surprise. The only reason I imagine we would ever need to hop on outside of regular hours is if the site's down and we took it down. But usually if the site's going to go down and we took it down, it's because we've done a thing and pushed it and it went down. So I wonder if maybe instead of on call, like person, could we operationalize it and add some kind of documentation to the handbook that we can build upon? That's like, usually if X is happening, this is the reason. Here are the steps to rectify. So we're, rather than us being the solvers of what's typically not overly complicated, we're giving people the tools to solve their own problem. That way it takes the effort off of us. What do you think there, Tyler?
I think both an alerting system and a process require people like human intervention. I don't like, I agree that that generally they're simple fixes. Like either it's like a complex fix that like shouldn't take us by surprise, or like we would need days anyways, right? Like that's a catastrophic scenario, but like in that case, yeah, maybe on call, you know, what's 4 hours if something's like, you know, borked all the way down. But for like an alerting system or process, like people need to intervene. And if it's like, I think it's a fair assessment to say that our ecosystem of like projects are not straightforward and like are challenging to like keep all the threads together. The people most qualified to do that and intervene are on this team. And I would like, I don't know. I don't know if it's sufficient to have a self-serve option for like the things we are primarily responsible for being like having downtime, right? Beyond like small like service blips of like third parties and stuff. So yeah, like I would be, it obviously, it wouldn't cost us anything to start where you're suggesting, Michael, right? Like it would be slightly better and that's iterative. And I would predict the future that it still would not be enough and that we would maybe find ourselves in this position again and asking like, should someone be around to field the alerts?
Mm-hmm. Laura, I see your record. Can you speak to that?
I agree that, you know, on call is great when there's a lot at stake. So like our large release, our IPO release, maybe for those large releases, we do have some setup where we're available for the evenings, the couple of days before and after a large release. But otherwise, I see I'm worried about people abusing having access to us all the time. You know, if people think that their thing is the most important thing and I'm getting pinged at midnight because of whatever, you know, I don't know that that's necessary. And maybe that's where just having the documentation for, you know, how to escalate something might be helpful. But yeah, maybe a on-call light.
Such a great idea, Laura. I think that nails it. Like, Tyler, you're also right. Like, we had an alerting system, would someone have to know? Maybe it's we can move on. I'll put it as an action item, but in my head, the alerting system would be like, it just posts to the digital experience channel so that it communicates that like this is happening and we're aware, and we're also not worried. You know, just so that people don't think they're like, oh, everything, like we caught this thing and they don't know about it. It's like, no, we have visibility. We know what's happening and we're on top of it. But yeah, I'll add, this is a great conversation. I'll add this to action items.
I guess for mine, I'll try to keep this brief. I feel like I could talk about this for a while, but I'd love to see more, not like hard set focus, but more of a mindset with like accessibility in mind when we create things or update things. As a team, I feel like we missed a lot in this big release, and honestly, I think that's just probably because of the tight due date. I don't think anyone probably went through anything with the screen reader, but now we have time to. I'd love to change the way maybe our definition of done is on some things, but I know here at GitLab we're WCAG, WCAG. I don't know if people say that with my Wisconsin accents. WCAG, 2.1 AA, and like what the heck does that mean? There's a lot that goes into that. I created a little spreadsheet. There's a link there that has the guidelines that fit for A and AA in that standard. And like, admittedly, that stuff does not make sense. So each guideline has a link to the documentation of what it all means. Admittedly, it's a lot of text and it also doesn't make sense. And that sheet has another tab with helpful links. My favorite links, I have these bookmarked. The first two are like ARIA label documentation. So if you're building something, say like breadcrumbs or a tab mechanism, they have like literally what you should do, like make this div and give it a role of tab panel. And it's really, really useful. We all have, I think for the most part, Macs, and that's a simple Command F5 to turn your voiceover on. There's also some tutorials in that sheet on how to use that, even on if you have an iPhone, how to get that working. But I know we have the Deck X tools and Google Lighthouse available, but and they are really great tools to get started, but those tools don't necessarily tell you everything you need to know about your content. If you're trying to portray something as a tab, Axe doesn't know that, and it can't give you pointers. Really, the only way to know if your content is being shared the way you want to everyone is if you roll up your sleeves and turn on that voiceover and give it a shot. And when it comes to accessibility, like, I know when I first started, I just thought like, oh yeah, you just got to add alt tags on an image and you're done. Like, no, there's so much more that goes into that. And it's definitely, you're never going to get it 100% perfect. And everyone is probably on a different journey in learning what accessible design or development is. And I think as a team, we could really collaborate and share what we know. And so if everyone loves this or likes this sheet, it would be great to maybe take a few pages every few months and audit that and make issues from that. I'm happy to use the sheet myself and record myself going through like the homepage or something and like how I would use it if that's helpful. But all right, I talked a lot. Laura, I saw you had a note on there.
We created an epic the other day, or Barker created an epic, and then Marg and I have been going through kind of chipping away at some of these issues. I created empty issues just for each of the kind of page neighborhoods to run Axe on it and then do the fixes that it says. But like you said, it's not comprehensive. It's not going to be perfect. But yeah, we're trying to go back and help fix some of that stuff. But definitely would love more eyes and screen readers on that. I think Tyler's in there next.
Yeah, I think I think this is a huge opportunity for us to find improvements. I think also, Hannah, it's not just accessibility too, right? There are like particular there are other web standards and conventions that we are in violation of that are not like legally binding the way that accessibility is, but are like conventionally wrong. And I think like the thing that would I think the approach for accessibility and these other challenges that we face and like things that we ought to correct is moving forward, since I think we'll probably have a little bit more like breathing room on some of the deliverables and delivery timelines. I think there's like this step of discovery phase between design and engineering where like I feel bad when like the requirements that I read or interpret are like I feel bad saying no, especially when it's like, okay, now it's time for me to do. So it's like, we kind of have to say like, okay, the answer is like yes anyways, even if maybe the answer should be let's find something else. And so I don't know, I would love to see, I hope that moving forward we have a little bit, there's like something between like design engineering where there's like a spike, right? Like if we do like agile terminology, like a spike branch on a thing where we grab a design, we have our requirements, we do our best to be faithful to the thing, and then we find, because it's hard to anticipate all the time, like, oh, oh, you want it to work this way. Turns out there's there's actually a limitation here, hard to anticipate, but now that I've given like a couple hours on it, I can tell you, and then we can find a solution that works for us, and we can like get to a better collaborative solution there. So I think this goes accessibility and other stuff too. Lots of no vocalizations of people saying stuff.
Yeah, maybe I'll just share to wrap this part. So we're establishing a legal requirement that we do meet AA standards. We currently do get sued because we don't. The sad thing about the world we live in is we could model out what makes us more money, fixing accessibility or continuing to drive the improvements that we make, and fixing accessibility would lose. That doesn't help real people in their lived experience. So making this a priority is an important thing for us. I added to action items nominating Megan and Laura to lead this effort, because from what I'm hearing, I think both of you sound well informed and also like passionate about it. And just for what it's worth, I think of two things regularly. I think accessibility is the thing that our generation of like digital makers is going to look at when we're older and be so embarrassed about how we treated it. And I also think that like the generation of people in elementary school are going to look at people who don't know how to code like they look at cave people and be like, what? So I think those are kind of like related, like understanding what living in the digital realm looks like and how to be inclusive. Lauren, I see added a link there. So let's just keep it moving. I'm looking at the time here. I think we could have provided clearer information on requirements. I hate the term requirements. It sounds so boring, but and I don't like the word creative brief either, but Adam and I talked about it, and like sometimes let's just use the boring words because it gets across what we want. It was almost like the day we released, I was like, we should have a creative brief, or like we should have a brief to give, when we're asking Adam for illustrations on whatever, it's like, here's how much we want it to skew to doing this, and then like some brand, like just helping set up the people we're asking things for. And I know Adam has the start of some issues, and then Jam3 gave us that Google Doc of requirements. I think we could get that even a little bit more better, a little more better. So I think I added that to action items to do. Lauren.
Yeah, I just had a comment, like, how do we avoid this becoming extra work? Such as like some of our issue templates are very verbose, and it sometimes it just feels like extra work.
It would be a new issue template. The term extra work, I feel like we're offloading the work to other people. So the work exists, like it's there. The clarity is needed. So by not having it, sure, we are not doing extra work, but we're making Monica do extra work. So I think like, can we meet in the middle? Like we could even do this collaboratively. I think that's how it'd be the strongest is, hey, we need these illustrations. Adam tells us like, yeah, okay, Vic's going to be available. We take a stab at it, and then we go like, hey, Vic, can we collab on getting this to a place where we're both clear? That kind of starts, that's what drives this, right? That's what starts that cross-functional collaboration. Cool. I see some notes on 4. So I just noticed, this could just be a personal thing. I just got a little squirrely when I saw a bunch of time off around the delivery date. Take time off. And that's not what the sentiment is. It's just, it just made me feel a little squirrely. We've got this big thing. It got a little quiet. That could also be a perception thing. Tyler, I saw your comment, like a lot of this conversation could be happening in Zoom calls. Again, I think it might just be the nature of working remotely. Like if we were in a place, you would see all the activity. I just wanted to call it out. Like, I think if we can increase the visibility of like everybody doing stuff, that energy feeds our souls, and like knowing you're in it with people. I don't know, there's just something there. And again, it could just be me. So I just wanted to mention it.
You said no action necessary, but like, it sounds like you still want us to do something. So I just like, do you want more in Slack, or do you want no change at all? I guess like that's what I want to clear up is like, I'd
just
love
want
to
us
make you
to,
like,
maybe no action, just it's in your head now. That it's about visibility, it's about perception, it's about like, when I know that I'm at like barely able to make it and someone else is also there with me, it just helps me. And again, that could just be a personal thing, but like, I really do mean no action. Like, it's a recommendation that if we ever get in the shit again, which we will, being able to look to your left and your right and know that, like, see that the people are there instead of having to take the action, to be like, are you there? Again, is what it is. Could be a feedback from one person.
Maybe it'll
There's
help.
other comments. Did
Yeah.
anyone else want to jump in?
I want to just vocalize my point, that we had split up our Slack channel into squad groups, that maybe you weren't added to those groups inside Slack. So
That could have been
probably
it.
you didn't see a lot of the work for squad 2 was happening in that channel.
Cool.
So,
well, maybe that's just a visibility thing.
yeah, it's a
That must have
visibility
been
thing, I
it.
think.
Tyler, Laura, did you want to vocalize yours?
Sure. Yeah. I think that the PTO didn't seem like a problem, but I was on a squad that I didn't notice anyone taking PTO. But it seemed like all the work was really covered well. We had check-ins and made sure that like anyone who was on PTO, did they have work that needed to be completed and could someone else take it? So like the coverage, I think, went well. So there's that.
Jess?
Yeah, I think it all went well in the end. I don't think anyone's PTO really inhibited our progress. And I think because we did do so much work, I know a lot of people were working overtime this quarter, that PTO was kind of necessary. At least for me, I felt like it. So that's all.
Yeah, I think it's definitely agreed. PTO is important. I think for me, like to put a sharp end on the point, it's like around the deadline. That's what caused me concern. And I think when you're working on salary, there really isn't a concept of overtime because it balances out. And here with unlimited PTO, I think it's pretty easy not to get into your like 9 to 5, 40-hour punch the pay clock. And if you are, I get notices from PTO by Roots, and you know that I'll get on you for not taking time off. Lauren?
Yeah, I just put a comment in there about the PTO routes. I love the when you can task either a channel or a person for coverage. It's kind of annoying sometimes when you see like, it auto respond everywhere, but it does really help the reminder.
Totally helps.
Yeah. I put a to-do there for me to investigate how we can better have that communication for our contractor teammates, because they are not in PTO routes. And so all we have is Google Calendar at this point.
Sweet. Nathan?
Yeah. It's a tricky one because I know we were kind of scrambling to get things done, but we didn't really follow our cutoff date or time. We ended up, I think, merging it in with changes within like an hour. So I would prefer in the future, I know it's not always possible, but let it sit for a bit, at least on like a stable environment on the review app without changes for like a couple days. I think we got pretty lucky, I'm going to be honest, that nothing major came up. I know that we've been working on it and we're always involved, but
Gotta be good to be lucky though, Nathan.
yeah, I don't know. I've seen a lot of releases in the past, and this one, I was shocked by how smoothly it went, but I'm proud it did. I just think one step we can make is just making sure we have a clear cutoff date. And I'm not saying that we don't do the work. I'm just saying like
Oh, totally
get quick
agree.
fix after.
We had, in hindsight, I was like, cool, we had less than 24 hours of soft launch. Usually you want a week. Conscious of time, we got 2 more points here. Tyler.
I think it's in this last retro. I just are we split? I like it's cool to see everyone's face. This feels too big for me. I need smaller meetings, I think, personally. So like are we doing that in the future?
Don't know yet.
Cool. Okay. Well, I hope we do. I would, toss my hat in for like smaller meeting sizes with the groups.
We'll get that figured out. Jess?
My point goes a little bit back to what you're talking about earlier, Michael, with setting up requirements up front. But specifically, like, the brand team works one way, the copy team works one way, Jamfly works another way, we work another way. And I feel like there was a little bit of chaos and like trying to figure out what the single source of truth was, because we never like really sat down and said, okay, we're going to use this drive for these assets and this stock for that thing. And so oftentimes there's like 3 different sets of things, and sometimes you didn't have access to the thing that you thought you needed. So I think just setting up those things in advance would really help us all like be on the same page and cause less like when you do the same work over and over again. I can't remember what the phrase is.
Yeah, I hear that. I think I'll put it down into action items, but in the kickoff phase of a project, it would be good to proactively say like how we work together, ways of working to try and get that tighter. And I also think the nature, that's the like training of the collaboration muscle. It's like the nature of doing it more. We learn how other people work and get closer. So being proactive from the start and then continuing this interlock process, I think we'll get so much better.
I'm a strong opinion of GitLab issues and MRs as a single source of truth. I see Jess writing there. I say drop a link to that Google Drive in the GitLab issue. Drop a link to the Figma in the GitLab issue. But that will require the other people we work with outside GitLab to adapt to their processes. So I can see how that could be challenging.
Gantt charts suck. I get how like I will continue needing to make things like that, roadmaps, Gantt charts, because that's how executive leadership thinks. But like when it comes to being in the work, it's like this is not helpful. All right, well, we're over time. We've got some great action items. Anything we've missed? Anything on anyone's mind?
Logistics. Are we doing? So we have offsite next week.
Yeah.
And 2 questions. One, are we doing sprint planning on Monday still?
Yeah.
Okay, we are. All right,
We'll do
great.
it like a quarter Q2 kickoff sprint planning. Like we'll keep it light. The sprint will be lighter because of offsite, because of like upcoming time, all this kind of stuff. But yes, and
Okay.
yes.
And then other than that personality assessment thing, which I still haven't gotten.
Yeah, so I'm glad everyone's here. Craig is doing that for me, so I'm giving him time to not bother him because he's got 1,000 things to do. But if I don't hear from him by the end of today, I'll hit him up.
Okay. Other than that, is there anything that you want us to prep for, or should we come like blank slate?
You'll hear from Philza, Justin, and Lauren shortly on that. Bring big smiles.
Okay.
Also, just for visibility, I will be taking a week on July, going to Texas for a family wedding.
Yeehaw. Had to.
Okay, stopping the record.